so many thoughts. I hate that it was so good. I'm already so mad. Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to today's video. We are going to be reading some of the top books of 2024 because it's the end of the year and Goodreads has finally released their top books of the year list for the Goodreads Choice Awards, and I love this time of the year when I can look back, look at what other people have read and loved, and then try to read them myself and see what I think about them. So the list of finalists came out a couple days ago and I did look through them, but I honestly don't remember exactly like everything that was on the nominees list. So let's right now just go through the categories, see what books on the list I actually own and have on my TBR, and then we can make our list of books that we could read for this video. So the first genre is fiction. I voted for The Wedding People in this genre. I really liked that book. I thought it was just such a genuine, real look into people and their feelings, but strong contenders. First of all, we have Intermezzo by Sally Rooney, which I have right here, and I think this is definitely going to be one I have to read this week. Everyone's been talking about it. I've heard good things about this as well, so I definitely think I have to read this. I think that's honestly everything else I have on this list. You know what? I actually own Here One Moment by Leanne Moriarty on my Kindle, so that's also an option. And I just ordered Blue Sisters by Coco Malors from Book of the Month as my add-on for this past month, so maybe that'll arrive in time for this week and maybe I can read that one. Okay, over to historical fiction. I voted for The Women by Kristen Hanna. I genuinely loved this book so much, but let's see what else is in here. Frozen River, I've heard of that one. I don't have it though. I kind of want to obtain it, but I don't have it right now. I actually have nothing else in this category, which is crazy because I love historical fiction. For mystery and thriller, this was kind of a tough one for me to vote, but I voted for First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. I just think it was very different from other thrillers that I've read this year in the fact that we were like in the middle of the action during the book, so that's why I voted for it. I thought it was just a genuine, really fun, fast-paced read. But let's see what else I have. God of the Woods I read. I don't have any other thrillers from this list. Over to romance. Funny Story was my pick. This was actually a hard one to choose because Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez was also on this top finals list. You can't make me choose, but I ended up choosing Funny Story, so I guess you can make me choose. There's also Bride, which I read. Wild Love, which I have right here. This is a contender to read this week as well. Funny Story I read. Paradise Problem I read. I feel like this is the category that I've read the most out of the top list. Yeah, from romance, I think it's just Wild Love that I own and have not read yet. Romantasy, I voted for When the Moon Hatched. I loved this one. I just loved being immersed in this world. I want to be back in this world, and I'm really excited for the next book to come out, but that's what I voted for. Flame and Shadow obviously was a high contender, but I don't know, I feel like personally I actually enjoyed When the Moon Hatched better. Ooh, Apprentice to the Villain is on this list. I have Assistant to the Villain, but I haven't read it yet, so obviously I can't read the second one. Don't get me started on Zodiac Academy and Quicksilver. Just don't. Phantasma was really fun. I loved that. And Fate Inked in Blood, I did not like. So no contenders to read this week in Romantasy. That's kind of wild. But let's look at fantasy. I voted for Five Broken Blades. I thought this was super, super fun. Again, really excited for the sequel. I really want to try TJ Klune. I've never read a TJ Klune book, and I feel like everyone has read The House in the Cerulean Sea. It sounds really cozy, and I do want to try that author out. Do I not have anything in fantasy? How do I not have any of these books on my shelf that I haven't read? Where are my favorite fantasy books? Why are they not on this list? Anyways, let's go to sci-fi. I actually didn't vote for any in this category because I think the only one I've read on this list is Annibot, and I didn't really enjoy it that much. So even if that was the only book I read on this list, I feel like I could not vote for it because I didn't absolutely love it. But on this list, The Ministry of Time, it's actually over there because it's on my December TBR, which is perfect because we could definitely read that this week. Let me go get it. The Ministry of Time, definitely a top contender for reads this week. I'm excited, and maybe after I read it, if I do end up liking it, maybe I can end up voting for it in the sci-fi category. In horror, I honestly don't think I will have read or have any of these. I'm not that much of a horror reader. Yeah, I don't have any of these. In debut novel, I did vote for How to End a Love Story. I was a little conflicted with this one, but I think for a debut novel, it was good. Like, it was good enough. So that's what I voted for, but what else do I have? Oh, The Ministry of Time is in this category too. So if I read it and I end up loving it, maybe I could switch my vote. I think that's the only one I have in this category. Yeah. Audiobooks, I think I'm just gonna skip. I did vote for 1984 by George Orwell. This was like the adaptation. This is the only audiobook I've ever listened to in my entire life because Audible actually gifted it to me to give it a try. So I voted for it because I have not listened to any of these other ones because you guys know I'm not really an audiobook girly. In YA fantasy, I voted for Heartless Hunter. It was just genuine pure fun. Oh, Wisteria is on this list. I would have loved to read that, but I haven't read the second book, Foxglove, yet, so I can't read that one. I don't think, yeah, there's nothing else that I could read in this category. In YA fiction, I voted for the reappearance of Rachel Price, even though, to be honest, I didn't fully love this one either, but I feel like for YA, it's good. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like if I was a YA reader and I read that book, I would have had fun reading it. But let's see if I can read anything else. I do actually have The Grandest Game, but I can't read it yet because I haven't finished the Inheritance Games series. So we're gonna skip that one. Oh, I do want to read If Only I Had Told Her, but I don't own it on my physical TBR yet, so that's a no. And I think I'm not gonna have anything else in these kind of last categories because I don't have that many nonfiction books or memoirs, but I'll look through them anyways, just in case. Oh, I did want to read The Third Gilmore Girl. I did want to read that. I didn't realize that came out because I love the Gilmore Girls and I love Emily Gilmore and Kelly Bishop. It's just absolutely amazing. So I feel like that would be a good memoir to read. That would be really fun, but I don't have it. Alas, I do not have it. Yeah, I don't have anything in history. So honestly, I think that's perfect. We had exactly 3 books on the list to read. Ministry of Time is a time travel romance sci-fi, which was nominated in 2 categories. Very impressive. Wild Love was nominated for romance, obviously, and then Intermezzo was nominated for general fiction. So there we go. What should I start with? I think I'm gonna start with Ministry of Time. I've been thinking about this book for a long time. I've been wanting to read it, so let's start reading. Okay, it's the next day. I'm wearing a Christmas sweater because it's December 1st. Don't mind me. But I didn't actually have too much time yesterday to read. I was wrapping gifts and that took hours yesterday because, I don't know, it takes so long for me. And I filmed my November reading wrap up and was editing that video pretty much like all day yesterday. So I didn't have too much time to read, but I did get around 70 pages in and I'm really loving this so far. So just a little bit more about the story. We are following, oh, does she not have a name? Hold on. I don't know if our main character doesn't have a name or not, or if it's just something that I forgot. But if she doesn't have a name, that's actually really cool because it fits her role in the story. But I don't know if I'm just being like dense and if I just literally forgot. Because I know the guy's name, I know the male main character's name, it's Graham Gore, but what is her name? I feel like everyone just calls her by her role, her job. Anyways, I'm spiraling, but our female main character, whose name is, you know, possibly unknown, gets a new job at the beginning of this book. Basically, she is working at this very top security department of the ministry that deals with time travel. And so her specific job is to become a bridge, they call it, for these expats. So the ministry is running this experiment where they're bringing people from the past, like from the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, and seeing if, like, with the proper transition period, if they could successfully blend into society and like join the future pretty much. And everyone they're bringing over are people that would have died in their own timeline. So they're bringing people from war, they're bringing people who were maybe sick. And so our main character, as a bridge, basically just has to act as a friend, as a housemate to one of these people that they're bringing from the past. So she is assigned to this military guy. He was in the Navy. He was supposed to have died in like 1847. And so she has to live with him. She has to teach him like what has happened in history. history since 1847 to now, tell him about toilets, tell him about phones and TVs, and just like make sure he is able to function in the modern day world. That's what the Ministry of Time is about, and I think it's really good so far. I'm really enjoying it. I'm actually really curious as to why this book isn't rated very high on Goodreads, because I checked on Goodreads and this has like a 3.61, and that's kind of shocking because the fact that it's been nominated for 2 Goodreads Choice Awards, but then it's rated a 3.61, which seems like that's a very low rating. It's kind of baffling to me. So I'm wondering if this book is just like super controversial. People either love it or really dislike it, but we'll see. Currently, I am on the side of loving it. I think it's really interesting, like the whole setup and the premise, but also we're starting to get really good interactions between our female main character and our Navy guy. The humor in this is so good. It's this like really dry sense of humor. It's making me laugh. It's funny. And I'm finding it like so interesting. There are a lot of moments where Graham, the guy from the past, is just like unaware of, like, let's say being politically correct in modern day. Like he says certain words that are like, you know, not really okay in society today. But when he was alive in 1847, it was okay to say those things. And it's interesting to see his thought process trying to like learn these things and like get with the times. I don't know. It's really interesting. There's a lot in here. It seems like a very small book, but I feel like it packs a punch, and I'm only 70 pages in. So I think we just have to keep reading and see how it goes. But so far, this is much higher than a 3.61 to me. I think that's kind of boggles my mind a little bit how the rating is so low, but maybe the ending sucks. And there's only one way to find out, and that's to keep reading. So let's do that. I just took a super shower. Let's read. I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this moment all day throughout the workday. I know, you too, right, Sage? We've all been waiting. We've all been waiting through the workday to be able to finally read, and it's finally evening. So let's read. So I thought we were going to start focusing more on the romantic relationship between our characters, like the romance part of this time travel romance, but I'm like 100 pages in now, and I feel like we're starting to get more into the plot part of the story that is really interesting. Obviously, we are in this like top secret ministry type of a thing, so there's always going to be some secrecy and emphasis on like security and spies and stuff, but now there's this whole, I don't know, it feels like it's gonna turn into some sort of like a ministry corruption story. I'm really liking the direction that this book is going in. It's just so like refreshing. I feel like this is a story that I actually have not read anything that is remotely like this. Kudos to Kaliane Bradley for finally writing something that's refreshing and new and very interesting. I'm gonna keep reading. Just finished this one. I have so many thoughts. So first of all, I absolutely loved this. It is definitely officially on my top list like of favorite books from this year, but there's so much to unpack here. I don't even know where to begin. She's only like 330 pages, but she packs a punch. There's so much in here. So first of all, if you're going into this book thinking it's a time travel romance, you will not like it. It's not a time travel romance. I got that wrong. It is a sci-fi, it is a literary fiction, it is a historical fiction. It's all of that with a romance subplot. So yes, there is romance in it, and I did enjoy the romance in it, but it's not a romance book. And the other thing is, I could see why this book would be a little bit controversial, like why some people might not love it, and that's why it has a 3.61 rating on Goodreads, but I'm giving this a 5-star. I think the writing style here could be very off-putting. Like even me, like at the beginning when I was starting to read this, I was like, oh, this writing style is kind of strange. Like, it's kind of uncomfortable, but I got used to it, and I feel like the writing style really suits the story because the story is just very bizarre and strange and a little bit off-putting. It's just its own thing. Like, I don't think I could compare this to any other book that I have read this past year, or honestly ever. The themes we go into in this book are also so good. Like, we go like pretty deep into a lot of different themes, like racism, of belonging, of being a part of two different cultures or two different times. We had friendships and families and trauma and obviously romantic relationships. We just went deep. There is also, as I mentioned, a historical fiction aspect to this book. So our guy, Graham Gore, who comes from the past, he is actually a person in real life history, which I didn't know until I looked it up like half an hour ago, because as I was finishing this book, I was like, hold on, I feel like this person's real for some reason. And I looked it up, and he is a real person from the past, which kind of makes me a little bit uncomfortable, even more uncomfortable, because I'm like, is this essentially a fan fiction of someone who died in 1847? Like a real life person who was dead in 1847. Now we're writing fan fictions about him. And so that part makes me like a little bit uncomfortable, but I feel like this entire book makes me a little bit uncomfortable, and that's a good thing sometimes. My brain and my heart are just like, ooh, I feel like they're melted into a puddle on the floor right now. Like, first of all, because time travel always makes my brain melt. Like, it makes me malfunction. And then the romance part of this book also, just like by the end, I was like, ooh. This was so good, and it's so funny because I can see why people might highly dislike this book. I could see why people could hate this book, but I loved it. Usually when I love a book, I'm like, yeah, you guys would love it too. Like, I would totally recommend this for everyone. I don't know if I would recommend this book for everyone, but I would recommend everyone to give it a try. I can see why this book is so dividing in terms of opinions. Yeah, I don't know. It's uncomfortable, it's blunt, it's brutal. We don't like skim over things. We don't gloss over or romanticize anything in this book. The Ministry of Time, wow. Oh my gosh, and I forgot to mention, our main character did not end up ever having a name. And that was purposeful, and that's all I'm gonna say. You're gonna have to read the book if you wanna know what I'm talking about. I think for our next book, we have Wild Love, and we also have Intermezzo, and I think we're gonna have to pick up Wild Love first. And here it is. I just think that Intermezzo is going to like require more brain cells, like more brain power, and after reading The Ministry of Time, I need to just sit back with something a little more no thoughts reading, no brain reading, you know what I mean? Like, I just need something like easy, and I think Wild Love would do that for me more than Intermezzo. I also, oh my gosh, I just tried to go onto Goodreads and vote for The Ministry of Time in both the debut category and the sci-fi category, and realized the voting ended yesterday, so I missed it by a day, but now I'm sad because I wish I would have voted for this book for those two categories because I loved it so much, but I missed it. I was like slightly, just a little bit too late. But anyways, yeah, Wild Love. We're going over to small town romance. This one is about a girl who moves to a gorgeous small town called Rose Hill. She meets a billionaire who's from the small town, but this guy has also just recently figured out that he's the father to a daughter. This seems a lot more like light, easy to read. Let's do it. I have read, how much have I read? I actually sped through this yesterday. This is definitely a much quicker, easier read than Ministry of Time, but I read 122 pages of this yesterday. My first thought, when I saw the map at the front of the book, which like, I don't think I've ever read a romance book that has a map at the beginning of it, so that's kind of fun, I guess. I don't see really the point in it, to be honest, because there aren't even that many landmarks on the map. I think the like locations pinpointed on the map are actually the settings of Elsie Silver's different series. I don't know if it contributes to the story, but it's kind of just like a fun little thing at the beginning of the book, I guess. But that's when I realized that this book is set in Canada. So immediately gets points from me, the little Canadian who just loves reading books set in Canada. And I also had no idea that Elsie Silver was actually Canadian as well. So that's cool. Past the map, within the first 20 pages, so this is not a spoiler, our female main character, Rosie, gets very unfairly laid off from her job. And as someone who just recently got unfairly laid off from a job, that hit too close to home. Obviously, the situations of like the reasons of the layoffs were very different, but that really sucked. That really, when I read that, I was like, I like really felt for her in that moment. Anyways, I am actually having a lot of fun with this book. I think I'm enjoying this book more than I thought I would, to be honest, just because a lot of people have said that Elsie Silver is like quite smutty. I'm sure there is smut in this book, I'm just not at that part yet, but so far I'm really having fun with it. I do think that Elsie Silver is like obsessed with furniture or interior design, because I swear every single time we enter a new room, a new house, a new building, whatever, all of like, I don't know, the walls, the floor, every single piece of furniture is described in so much detail. It's kind of reminding me of when like in Magnolia Parks, we would get descriptions of like literally what everyone was wearing and the brands and the pattern and color and everything. That's what we're getting in Wild Love, but it's like interior decorating. I love descriptions of settings and where we are because it helps you picture like where your characters are better, but I feel like it's a lot in this one. I honestly get the impression that this is doing what The Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score was trying to do, but Lucy Score is an author that just like does not work for me. I do not get along with her writing at all. So to me, personal preference, this is like the better version of The Things We Never Got Over. There are a lot of main plot points and things that are happening and tropes that are similar to that book. I just feel like this is the better version of that book for me. I don't think this is the perfect book by any means. I'm already seeing some inconsistencies in the characters and some continuity issues, but I'm having fun reading it. I'm actually really loving the interaction between the two main characters. We have this like childhood frenemies to lovers situation going on. So when the two of them see each other, they kind of revert back to their childhood selves and they like tease each other in that 12-year-old childish way. Like they're throwing chips at each other and stuff. And I know I always say I get annoyed when adults in books don't act like adults, but I feel like it works in this situation because like I understand that feeling of kind of reverting back to your old habits and your old self when you're around those people from your childhood. So it makes sense, like the childish behavior makes sense in this situation. And I think it's really fun, like the teasing, the banter, it's fun, it's cute. I like it. That's Wild Love so far. No, because why did that have to get so spicy? Every single one of you who has already read this book was probably waiting for that to happen for me to react to the spiciness of this book. I just wish it didn't go there. I personally wish it did not go there because I was having so much fun with the banter, with the snarkiness. It was funny, and like the Harry Potter references, the emails back and forth. Like I'm a sucker for letter writing, for emailing. I love that. I love that. Give that to me in all of the romances. So I really liked a lot of this, but I feel like the entire back half of the book was just like scene after scene after scene of spice. And I'm going to be honest, I skimmed the last two of those like spice scenes because I just couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I feel like this is not important to the plot anymore, so I skimmed those. The pet names also started near the end of the book, and unless they're like meaningful pet names that have significant meaning in a fantasy world, I'm not really one for that. Like there was a certain pet name in the Ministry of Time actually, but I really liked that. Like I don't know, the way it's done is just different when there's an element of magic or otherworldliness in it. I think I'm gonna give this a 3.5. That's where I'm hovering right now. I did enjoy so many aspects of it. I thought a lot of it was really cute and really fun. I also think the plot did become very messy around the end. I was like, okay, we're pulling off all the stops to create conflict, to, I don't know, just like stir up drama. And that's definitely one of the most difficult things for an author when they're writing a romance, is to create a third act conflict that actually makes sense and that has justification for why it's happening. I feel like so many third act conflicts I have come across just don't make sense. It's like, why would that happen? That doesn't make sense for any of the characters involved. And then everything just started to become very, very not believable, like in terms of what the characters were doing for each other. Like, I understand that the characters like really, really love each other in this book, but the extent of things that were happening and things they were doing for each other, I was like, that's a bit too much. The things he was doing, I was like, that would give me the ick if anyone did that much for me. But as always, that's personal preference. So while this book started off really strong for me, it kind of went downhill as it went on. Still overall enjoyed it. I think what Elsie Silver is really, really good at is creating those like small little sweet moments that just like make up a romance book. All romances are so predictable, right? Like, you know how things are going to end essentially, but it's the way you get there and it's the small things that happen along the way. And I think Elsie Silver's really good at doing that. But yeah, the plot just got a little bit too ridiculous. The spice got a little too spicy. I think I will continue to read, what is the next one called in the series? Wild, I think they mentioned it at the back of this book. Wild Eyes, that's what it was. Wild Eyes is the next book. And from what I understand, it follows the brother of the female of like Rosie in this book, who honestly I'm not that interested in. Like, just from the character that we got in this book for him, like I don't really feel that inclined to read more about him, but I've heard that a lot of people like Wild Eyes even more than Wild Love, so I'll probably give it a chance. I'll add it to like my book wish list and see if I come across it in a book haul. That's Wild Love, which means we're gonna pick up our third read, Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. Now, I am really excited to read this because I've heard a lot of good things about it. I am a little hesitant though, or I'm like, not hesitant, I'm like mentally preparing myself, because the only other Sally Rooney I've read is Normal People, and while I really enjoyed the story, I didn't love her writing style. I think it felt kind of distant to me. And then my biggest thing with Sally Rooney is she does not use quotation marks, and I just cannot seem to get over that. That is a big pet peeve of mine. So I've been hyping myself to go in with an open mind. I already know that I'm not expecting quotation marks. I hope I really like this because the premise of it sounds so good. It's about two brothers. Their dad dies, so we follow Peter and Ivan, and then Peter and Ivan are just like very different brothers. Like, they don't have anything in common, and we go through how the two of them deal with their father's death in their different ways. I think both the brothers are also sort of like trying to figure out their love lives and their relationships as well, interwoven with all of that. So I hope I love it. I hope I can start loving Sally Rooney's writing. So let's read Intermezzo. So mad at the lack of quotation marks. I'm already so mad. I thought I like prepared myself to jump into this book like knowing, I knew the lack of quotation marks was going to drive me mad, and that's the reason I haven't picked up another Sally Rooney after Normal People. But still it somehow has caught me off guard, and I feel like her writing style has gotten even more just rambling, sort of like stream of consciousness, like literally just like word vomiting onto the page. I could see how that's maybe a style that some people enjoy. Like, it's very intense. You definitely get very intense emotions, and you probably get really deep into the characters that way. But I don't know, it's kind of driving me crazy already, and I've only read 8 pages. Yeah, I'm already kind of going insane. And I posted an Instagram story because I was just curious. I wanted to get like your opinions on what you think of the lack of quotation marks. And I said, why does the lack of quotation marks make me so mad? And then I made a little poll and it says, I can't stand it, or I didn't even notice. And I don't think I have seen a poll as polarizing as this. 92% of you also said I can't stand it. So I'm glad to see that I'm not alone. I feel like this is gonna be a tough read for me, but maybe I'll like it. I think I'm like, so far I'm interested in the first 8 pages I've read, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can deal with this writing style, but I also don't DNF books, so I know I'm gonna keep reading. Will I enjoy it? That is another question entirely. Good morning, guys. I think I have angered so many of you guys on Instagram with that poll because I have not had an Instagram story that has gotten this much engagement ever. Right now, we're standing at a solid 91% of you who cannot stand the lack of quotation marks. And then I've been getting a lot of messages from you guys just like literally asking like, what book is this so I can avoid it? That is so funny. But that being said, let's talk about the book in question. So I got through 138 pages of this yesterday, which is really good considering the fact that I was having so much struggle with the beginning of this book, because it's not only the lack of quotation marks, but I feel like just the entire way this is written, we're not even speaking in full sentences. Let me just read you the first page, okay? We're gonna have a little read-along session right now. Are you guys ready? It didn't seem fair on the young lad. That suit at the funeral, with the braces on his teeth, the supreme discomfort of the adolescent. On such occasions, one could almost come to regret one's own social brilliance. Gives him the excuse, or gives him in any case, someone at whom to look pleadingly between the mandatory handshakes. God love him. Nearly 23 now. Ivan the Terrible. Difficult to actually believe the suit on him. I don't think you guys need any more than that, because that is literally how this book is written. Like, what does that even mean? Getting more serious about it though. That is just one of the brothers' POVs. So as I mentioned, there are 2 brothers. Peter, who's like the popular lawyer guy, and then Ivan, who is like the nerdy, socially awkward chess player. I'm finding the Peter chapters to be harder to read. Like, that was a Peter chapter, but the Ivan chapters, although they're still missing quotation marks, although the sentences are still a little bit funky, it is much easier to read. Actually, let me read you the first Ivan chapter. Okay, here's chapter 2, page 19. This is the first Ivan chapter. Read a long time. Ivan is standing on his own at the corner while the men from the chess club move the chairs and tables around. The men are saying things to one another like, back a bit there, Tom, mind yourself now. Alone, Ivan is standing, wanting to sit down, but uncertain as to which of the chairs need to be rearranged still and which of them are in their correct places already. This uncertainty arises because the way in which the men are moving the furniture corresponds to no specific method Ivan has been able to discern. You see, like, it's still a little bit strange, it's still a little bit funky, but it makes more sense. Like, it flows a little bit more naturally to me. So that's what the Ivan chapters are like. And because of the writing style, I'm enjoying the Ivan chapters a lot more. Like, it's currently very hard for me to get interested in Peter's story just because of like the way it's written. I'm like, how am I supposed to understand this? For Ivan's story, I'm like getting more out of it because the writing is not getting in my way. I will say, like, I understand to an extent why Sally Rooney wrote the chapters this way. You really know whose head you're in the different chapters because they're written so differently. And I know both of these brothers are currently in a not very good mental state because their father just died, and Peter especially is currently like constantly medicated. So I guess this is Sally Rooney's way of like showing you his actual like thoughts while he's medicated and like high on drugs essentially. So it makes sense why it's done that way, but for me, I would not say it's like a good reading experience. I don't know. I'm enjoying the Ivan chapters. Like, I'm enjoying the Ivan story and I'm invested and I want to see where it goes. I'm just like so curious. But yeah, it's the Peter side of this book that I can't get into right now. But I'm gonna keep reading. I think I've like gotten a little bit over the hump of like, what the heck is this? So yeah, I'm encouraged. I am positive. I'm looking forward to reading on, especially in Ivan's POV. Hopefully I start settling into Peter's as well, but that one's just a little tricky for me right now, to be completely honest. I just honestly really want to know what the editing process of this book is. Like, how would an editor edit this, because it's not like we're following proper sentence structure. It's not like we're being grammatically correct ever. Like, I don't know if there's a single grammatically correct sentence in this book. I'm not a grammar expert, so maybe there is. This is just a different style of grammar, and I don't know. That's probably the case, but I'm just like, as I'm reading this, I'm baffled as to how anyone could edit this book, because only Sally Rooney knows purposefully what she's doing. Like, it's definitely a choice. It's kind of like an art style. It's like modern art that you can't really judge. It's like very abstract. I don't know. I'm just, yeah, how does one edit this? I don't know. These are the thoughts that I'm thinking, but we're gonna continue reading Intermezzo and see how it goes. It's not fully a negative experience, it's just a little bit of a struggle. I'm so mad, you guys. I'm so mad. Why am I mad, you ask? Because I loved this book, and I'm so mad about it. I know I've literally just been complaining about the writing style of this book the entire time I've been reading it, but oh my gosh, it was good. It was good. It was good. I hate that it was so good because the writing infuriated me so much. So where did I leave you guys off? I was enjoying Ivan's story a lot more than Peter's, and then all of a sudden I found that I was just so invested in Peter, and I don't know when it happened, but I was like, oh, like I just got so invested in the story and what was going to happen to him, both of them. But do you hear that banging outside? There's like a Christmas parade happening outside right now, and it's just kind of like, it's very fitting because I feel like my mind is just like right now, and there's like chaotic like banging and like drums outside. I should probably be out there getting into the Christmas spirit and enjoying the Christmas parade, but I was inside finishing this book instead because I had to finish it and like know what happened to everyone. If you're a plot reader, don't read this book. You will not like this book. There's not much that happens in the plot, but it's very much more of a character-driven story, and the character dynamics were so good. Like, yeah, do I highly dislike the writing style? Does it drive me mad? Do I wish they were quotation marks and punctuation and just like fully formed sentences? Yes, I do. I do wish all of that. But Sally Rooney just like is so good at getting deep into these characters' heads and building these like really, really intricate relationship dynamics between people with romantic relationships, parental relationships, brotherly, like, you know, sibling relationships. Oh, she's so good at it, and I'm so mad because her writing just makes my brain hurt. But this book was amazing. It was so good. I don't think I can give it a 5-star because I was just in pain trying to like assimilate to her writing, but it was good. It was good. I'm gonna give it a 4-star. Sally Rooney, the things that you do to me. I'm kind of broken right now, you guys. It was good. It was good. It was good. I'm eating my words right now. Oh, you know what? If she wants to have a very artistic writing style and like not fully formed sentences, whatever, but like give me the quotation marks. Give me the quotation marks, because I do feel like as I was reading this, it was really confusing sometimes of like what was said out loud and what was just thought in the head. And maybe that's the point, is that you get all of these intrusive thoughts and you don't know if the character is saying them out loud or not. And it just like gets you like more deep into this bizarre experience of the human mind. But oh, that was an experience. This is a great book. I'm mad about it. Anyways, those are the 3 books I'm going to read in this video, but I just wanted to finish this video off by looking at the results of the Goodreads Choice Awards, because I just got an email this morning saying that the results are in, all the votes are in, and they've announced the winners. So I thought it'd be fun to go through the winners and see if I like agree with who won, or if I voted like correctly for the winners. So let's take a quick look, shall we? Winner of fiction is The Wedding People, which is the book I voted for. I really did like that book, but honestly, if I had read Intermezzo throughout like before the voting period, I might very well have voted for Intermezzo, even though it makes me so mad. But anyways, I voted for The Wedding People and it won, so I feel like I won too. What got second? Okay, Intermezzo did get second, and then Blue Sisters got third. I haven't read the Welcome to the Hyunam Dong bookshop. I've heard some good things, so you know what? I'm gonna add that to my want to read. Historical fiction. It better have been The Women. Yes, it was The Women. I feel like I get so happy when I see that the book I voted for won. Like, I feel like I won, even though I had nothing to do with the writing of that book. It just gives me joy. Mystery thriller. The God of the Woods won. Okay, I could see that. I feel like that book was more overall popular than First Lie Wins. In romance, Funny Story won. Okay, yeah, that was really good. Just for the Summer got second. I wonder where Wild Love fell. Kind of like in the middle of the road. I agree with that. It wasn't my favorite romance of the year by far, but it was okay. Romantasy, Flame and Shadow won. You know what? How would you expect anyone to beat like the universe that is Sarah J Maas? Where did When the Moon Hatched? Okay, When the Moon Hatched got fourth. Quicksilver beat When the Moon Hatched? I'm so mad at that. Fantasy, oh, you know what? Is this a sign? It's another sign that I have to read TJ Klune because Somewhere Beyond the Sea won. The Familiar got second, and that was a really, really close vote. What did I vote for? Oh, I voted for Five Broken Blades. I was not a winner in fantasy. That's okay, there were really good books in that category. Let's look at sci-fi. Do you think The Ministry of Time won? I hope it did, because I thought it was really good. It won. Ministry of Time won. And wow, by a huge landslide. You go, Kaliane Bradley. Debut novel. Do you think Ministry of Time also won debut novel? Oh, okay. How to End a Love Story. That's okay. I thought it was better than How to End a Love Story, but I think How to End a Love Story was more like widely known. What else are we interested in? Young adult fantasy. Ruthless Vows won. Okay, I accept that. YA fiction, Heartstopper. Oh, I need to get into Heartstopper. I've heard so many good things about it. I think those are all the categories that we are interested in. Cool, that was fun. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was kind of a long reading vlog, wasn't it? But I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment. If you don't know what to comment down below, let me know what your top read of the year was. If you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!